You're listening to My Comic Life on the My Comic Life Podcast Network. Welcome back to My Comic Life, folks. That's right. We are your one-stop podcast for all things comic, geek, nerd, movies, pop culture. If you're into that, stop. You found the podcast for you. Joining me each week in the studios, well, folks, he's the only guy I know who has to say Shazam backwards 5 times in a row to activate his superpower. Man, I'm sorry, you got the short end of the stick on that one. Alex, say hello to the folks there, Alex.
Hello to all you fans out there. A massage to you, Sam. We took a little bit of a hiatus last week because of the holiday. We got some great time in. Sam, how was your 4th?
It was great. I got to go down to my parents' lake house. I grilled out for the family. Got to do a little kayaking. Set off some fireworks. It was a fun time. What about you, Alex?
Much the same. I got to clock into work. I got to work all day. It was pretty, just pretty chill because nobody was there except me and a security guard. But hey, man, happy birthday, America.
Oh my goodness. All right. We're going to kick things off on tonight's show on the DC side of things. This week, DC teased a few of the costumes for some of their upcoming productions, namely Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Director David F. Sandberg has revealed new costumes of the Shazam family. In the photo, you see Shazam, played by Zachary Levi, Shazam Jr., played by Adam Brody, Mary Shazam, played by Grace Fulton, and the rest of the Shazam family don their new suits. Alex, I gotta ask you, do you like the new costumes or do you prefer the costumes from the first movie?
In all honesty, and I think you and I had already kind of discussed this a little earlier, but I like the old costumes a lot better than these. Not to say that this is just a production photo, so we don't know how it's going to be prettied up in post production or anything like that. I think the movie is still 2 years away ish, somewhere around there. So that's plenty of time for them to actually kind of gussy it up and make it look pretty. But I just kind of liked the smooth look of the first movie. But what about you, Sam? Do you like the kind of armorish scales, or do you like the smooth kind of cartoony look?
Man, I'm kind of digging like the armored look that they have here. I think in like the first film, but I think it kind of reflects like their state of mind and like like they really were just kids in like that first film, and so like all their costume kind of, especially Shazam, really looked like he had like stuffed like like a stuffed muscle suit underneath his costume, and yeah, it looked like like he had those overinflated muscles that you do see in certain comic books. And Shazam is certainly drawn with like huge like rippling muscles and biceps in the comics, to like the point that nobody could ever truly like attain like that body for screen. But yeah, no, it just kind of like how comic book art has evolved. These costumes just look like they've evolved. Like as these kids have grown up, they're like, hey, I want to like change my style a little bit. Like I don't want to wear Oshkosh Bagosh anymore. Like I want to wear my Jinko jeans. And,
I want to fit a 2-liter Mountain Dew in my back pocket.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just saying, like as we grow as people, like our styles and our tastes change, and I think that's just a reflection of what we're seeing here. Of them like growing up more and just having like a little bit more. I'm not gonna say down to earth because these are really bright costumes, but just a little bit more kind of like. This is gonna sound ridiculous to say about a superhero costume. A little bit more realistically, body tight fitting costume versus like the inflated muscle suits that we got in the first Shazam movie. And no, I think the color scheme looks great, and I think they look like really awesome costumes. Did you have any issues with the costumes from the first movie, Alex?
Nah, man, I kind of liked the whole, inflated Muscle Beach Tom from Tom and Jerry look that they had, man. I liked the overinflated costumes because, like you said, it did really kind of suit the movie's tone because it was kind of, this was a kid, and he was still going through kid stuff, and the Shazam that you saw in that movie was basically his idea of what a superhero looks like, and I thought that translated very well. But I get what you're saying. You know, these new costumes do look a lot more realistic. They do look a lot more, I guess, more function over form with the kind of breathable mesh that each of them has, and the armor in the places, the shins and the forearms and everything like that. So I do. I realize that they do need a some updates to it. They can't just have the old costumes. But I just I just really dug the very first one. I thought the colors were bright and everything. So, but to answer your question, um, yeah, I guess that's it. Is just I kind of dug the super smooth, I guess for lack of a better term, the smoothness of the first costumes over these ones. But I still can't wait to see these actually in action. It seems like the actors would be able to actually move around a little bit easier in these ones. But what about you, Sam? Do you see any problems with these ones, or you just like, hey man, sign me up. These are looking great.
I'm saying sign me up. Like these look great. These look like just really fun, really comic accurate, well done costumes. And like you said, like it looks like they're gonna get more range of motion out of these costumes. Which could mean more epic fight scenes. Hopefully, against maybe fingers crossed, Black Adam shows up. And it takes the family, not to quote Vin Diesel there, but it takes the family to bring him down. um, so
But
yeah,
I
so
do
no.
think I do see what you're saying with the especially with the updates to Mary Shazam's costume. I think in the first movie it was just like a literal like a skirt, like just a regular, almost a poodle skirt look, and this one has a lot more of that kind of Wonder Woman kind of half skirt, half armor feel to it. So I interested to see her flying around, not in like a perverted way, but like just to it looks like they have a specific purpose for redesigning these suits, and I can't wait to see what that is.
Yeah, yeah, I gotta say, of course, like yes, Shazam's costume stands out most to me, but that's because the movie is called Shazam. No, I'm liking the two tone shades of red here, and yeah, no, like I said, just the rest of the family looks fantastic. They all look great. I think these costumes look wonderful. But yeah, no, excited to see this new movie, and I'm glad we kind of got just a little sneak peek at what their costumes are gonna look like.
Hey Sam,
But
so
I'm
I got
sad.
a quick question for you though.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Looking at this picture, who do you think looks the best? Really quickly before we move on.
Oh man, who looks the best? That is an excellent question. Honestly, the three that really stick out to me are, of course, Shazam, and then Mary Shazam. Once again, I'm noticing like you took the words out of my mouth with like that Wonder Woman, esque, kind of like skirt and belt and boots combo there, which looks
Right.
really cool. And then props to DJ Court. I'm gonna butcher the name here, but DJ Catrona. That dude looks jacked, man. I mean, like he was eating his
Yeah, man.
Wheaties. I mean, like, damn, son. Like you almost like out muscle Zachary Levi in this picture. Like you look badass, sir. So yeah, those are the three. In fact, they're all. If you go to comicbook.com and like look at the picture that we're looking at, it's literally Zachary Levi, Miss Marvel, and DJ right standing all right next to each other. Like they look awesome. And don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Adam Brody fan, and he looks awesome too, and in his blue costume. I'm just saying, like those are the three that stood out to me. I guess same question to you, Alex. Who stood out most to you in this picture?
Yeah, I guess I gotta go with your choice, dude. I think the jacked Hispanic Superman is probably who I'm gonna go with. But I do like I like Megan Good. I feel like she deserves some credit because that purple really pops. It kind of stands out against, and I like I said, at the beginning of the show, I know this is just a set photo and it's not in proper lighting and everything like that, but that purple really does pop. So I can't wait to see what that looks like on screen. But yeah, so Jack Hispanic Superman and Megan Good. So those are my two picks.
Awesome, awesome. All right, folks. We're not total Marvel fanboys here. We do love DC as much as we love Marvel on this show, but DC just isn't dropping as much as Marvel is these days, you know? So we got to go with the Marvel side of the show. And this week, Marvel asked, what if? Marvel released the first official trailer for their approaching animated anthology series, What If, in winter 2020. Marvel had released their first look at the series and gave fans a small peek into what this series has to offer. Alex, I got to ask you, what are some of the differences that you immediately see between the first look and the official trailer?
I would say in the first look you got kind of a lot more quick cuts and not as much action as this second one was just basically like tons of action, and they let you know a lot of the kind of interactions between the different actors that are their voice talents very amazing, doing amazing jobs in this. I This one got me a lot more hyped than the first one, I could say, because I was there were a lot of little surprises watching this one where I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll definitely check that episode out. So um, that's probably where I'm at with it. But what about you, Sam? Did you notice any like immediate differences, or were you just kind of like, oh, because I know I say this every single time, but you're not really a trailer guy. You just kind of need one and you're good. But did you notice anything different between the first look and this official trailer?
I mean, I didn't notice anything hugely different. The story narrative, I mean, looks a little different, but the first look versus the exclusive looks like it just expanded more of what the first look trailer, gave us. Because I mean, like you see like this like scene in like the first look trailer where you see like Nick Fury like defrosting a shield, and you see Star Lord like looking, for like a piece of space treasure, much like he did in the original Guardians of the Galaxy and everything. But then, yeah, bam, like you get surprised because you see like Star Lord's helmet come off, and it is T'Challa from Black Panther as Star Lord. So no, I just think that like the exclusive trailer just did better at like expanding on what like the sneak peek teased you with. But no, I mean like the animation style looks the same, and it still looks to me like it's going to be possibly Doctor Strange. Like looking into different realities, possibly being shown different realities by, and I'm probably going to butcher this guy's name because he's got a unique sounding name, but I always called him Utu the Watcher. Uh, and it looks like the Watcher and Doctor Strange are gonna, kind of serve as narrators in this story for us. Alex, do you like the animation style, or do you think Marvel Studios should have stayed with their non-animated formula?
I think that a show like this, especially with it being so far removed from the original kind of Marvel run that they had, that kind of 10-year run that they had, um, it serves it better to go with an animated style. One, because you can do a lot more with the action. Like you're not kind of constrained to what a computer can do with a person's face on it. You can just kind of draw what it is that you want. And two, because they do if the trailer's accurate, they do go back to that Iron Man 1, and with Tony being in the desert, and stuff like that you just wouldn't be able to do without driving like a literal dump truck full of money up to Robert Downey Jr.'s house and smearing him in like 10 pounds of makeup in order to make him look younger. And it just, I think that going with the animated style and using their voices was the right move for a show like this, especially considering they're going to go back and kind of be like, well, what if this was different, or what if that was different? So that's where I am at with that. Do you think that their animated take on it benefits the kind of story that they're trying to weave, or would you have liked them to kind of stay with that the real life type of scenario?
Oh no, I'm totally in 100% agreement with you here. You have to go animated if you're doing like these crazy what if stories because I mean, you're right. Nobody's going to sit in a chair for like 6 hours and get like, like Chris Evans isn't going to sit in a chair and get zombie makeup lathered on him for like a 10 minute, or like 15 minute, like what if segment on like one episode. No, man. Uh Also, animation just lends you to more possibilities and more stories. I mean, I think animation is totally the way to go if you're gonna do a a what if style show. Because, like I said, it just opens you up to like a whole universe of possibilities, and you can tell just so many more diverse and interesting stories with animation. And I even like their animation style. It seems to be kind of like bright neon colors or like just really bright yellows and blues and purples and red contrasted against the dark background, and I found that to be a very eye-catching animation style there. So no, I'm all for animating
Oh,
this show.
absolutely. It's that weird kind of almost quasi Borderlands like cell shading type of animation, and
Yeah, yeah.
it looks really good. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is Marvel Studios' kind of first animated like production, right? I don't think there's been
I'm.
anything else.
I mean, in like the mid 2000s, like when I was in college, like we're talking like 2005 onward, they released like a series of direct to video, like animated films about like
Hmm.
Doctor Strange and Iron Man and the Avengers. But yeah, no, beyond that, like Marvel hasn't really like delved a ton into like animation. Like they've done some like Avengers shows for like Disney Channel and some Spider-Man shows and stuff like that. But no, I mean not level of like this, not animation of like this caliber, like this level on like this scale of a project. I would say,
So I have to ask you, after watching the trailer, did anything catch you off guard?
Yeah, I was not expecting Utu the Watcher to show up there. Like, I mean, like that caught me off guard. Yeah, seeing who was the bad guy in Black Panther? I'm blanking on his name again.
Killmonger.
Yeah, Killmonger. Okay, yeah. I was seeing again Killmonger show up and like deflect the missile for Tony. That was interesting. Love that there is a Captain Carter, who I almost called Captain Britain, but love seeing love seeing Captain Carter there as quasi Captain America. Love seeing Bucky take on zombie Captain America, like they're in a subway fighting. Um, Oh no, I'll tell you the biggest thing that caught me off guard is that they recreate the epic shot from the first Avengers film, and it's that whole like circle around, where like Hawkeye's
Oh yeah,
hitting
yeah,
an
yeah.
arrow in his bow and like Black Widow's loading up her pistols, and then they flip it and show like a what if, and you have Gamora in Thanos' armor wielding his dual blades, and Star Lord's there and everything. And so like that really caught me off guard, and I thought, well, that's a cool, scenario to play around with right there. Yeah, and like I said, yeah, jumping back, Bucky fighting a zombie Cap on a subway, and like zombie Cap throws his shield, and Bucky does that epic, catching of the shield, and looks like he beheads zombie Cap at the end because he throws it right back, but he looks like he throws it like neck level, like right at him, like he's gonna take his head off with it. But same question to you. Did anything catch you off guard in this trailer?
For me, I agree with a lot with what you said. A lot of that stuff did catch you off guard, and I guess that's the kind of the purpose of these what ifs is that they're supposed to catch you off guard. But one specifically for me was probably the Doctor Strange versus Doctor Strange fight that looks like it takes place kind of towards the end of the trailer, and that's something that I'm really interested in because, like you said, it seems like they're like your Doctor Strange or your the Watcher may be your kind of centralized characters throughout all of these stories. So I would really like to see um, what happens when the Doctor Strange from the What If universe meets the Doctor Strange from the narrative universe. That's just personally for me.
All right, now the series first looked like it was going to be a collection of stories that were each self contained, but this recent trailer lends credence to the idea that all the episodes are interconnected somehow. Alex, do you have any preference or theories as to which direction this series could play out?
I would like to see. I mean, I know that I guess what if stories. I'm not too familiar with them, but I know some of them are kind of single issue, and some of them run multiple issue stories. I guess I'd like to see a mix of both, like maybe one episode, a one-shot episode here, and then like you have a two-parter, and then a one episode shot, and then you have like a three-parter, something like that. I'd like to see a mix of both would probably be what something that I would love to watch because I feel like some of these stories do warrant more than I don't know how and I don't know how many or how long the episodes are going to be. I'm going to guess probably around that 26 27 minute mark. But I feel like a lot of these stories do warrant more time, and I would like to see them get that. But what about you, Sam? Do you think that they should all just be one shot episodes, or would you like to see a kind of mixture of both, or would you just want to see one long cohesive story with a central character?
No, nix the one long story with a central cohesive character, unless it's just like Doctor Strange looking in on different realities. But I mean, acting, as more of like a narrator, like kind of like Rod Serling did, for like the Twilight Zone. Like, hello,
Mm-hmm.
folks. We're taking you to a place beyond sight and sound. Yeah. So I mean, only if Doctor Strange, it's like, oh, hey, I accidentally got caught up in like a magical loop, and like I'm being zapped from like galaxy to galaxy to galaxy. Kind of like like I said, Twilight Zone or like Sliders esque. Like each episode he pops up, but I mean like he fades into the background. Just as like an introduction into like what like what universe we're in. We're in like the 616 or like the other the zombie verse or whatever. So that would be the only theory or time I'd be okay with like one central character.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, give me like a mix and match. Like show me like the zombie verse in like one 15-minute bit. Like let's assume this show is going to be 30 minutes long. Either give me three 10-minute segments, which I don't think is long enough, or give me two like 15-minute segments. So like one 15-minute segment, like shows me like Bucky versus Cap in like the zombie verse, and then you've got the Guardians of the Galaxy led by the Black Panther, fighting off Thanos' initial invasion of New York City in one, but split that into like a two-parter. Like they get to like New York in like part one, and then like in part two, like they're defending New York, as the avenging Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no. So yeah, give me like a mixture, but no, there does not need to be like one central person interweaving through all of this. It's called What If for a reason. Like you're supposed to get like a variety of stories and like like crazy what if outlandish ideas. So no, I mean I don't need a central person walking me. A central person being in this for this to make sense to me. Alex, which episode do you look forward to the most, and which episode do you think you're going to look forward to the least?
Okay, so assuming that they're all like one shot little like their own little stories. The one that I would look forward to the most, I think, would probably be the one with uh, Tony Stark and Eric Killmonger, because I want to believe that that's the what if story, and they already did this one in the comics where it's like, what if Tony Stark never became Iron Man? And that kind of the way that it plays out in the trailer it's like it's going to go down that path of Tony just not he never experience has that explosion, he never has that come like quote unquote come to Jesus moment, and he never like develops this technology to keep himself alive, starts the arc reactor, develops the Iron Man suit, realizes that the world is more than just designing weapons to for the highest bidder and all this and that, and with Killmonger just saving his life right there, it kind of sets it off on this big path, and that's probably the one that I am most looking forward to. And the one that I am least looking forward to is, I mean, this is an easy one for me. It's got to be the one with T'Challa because they do, I believe that is the voice of Chadwick Boseman. And so I'm just gonna be sobbing like a baby the entire time that he's like every time he speaks I'm just gonna be like like because it's just I think that is his last um project with Marvel before his untimely death, and of course R.I.P. The man was a legend, but that to me is going to be probably the hardest episode to get through personally. But what do you think? What I don't want to know what your episode that you're looking forward to the most and the episode that you're looking forward to the least.
See, the episodes I'm looking forward to the most, and yeah, they're going to be hard to get through because yeah, this was his last uh, recording or last role with Marvel. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing Chadwick Boseman doing Guardians of the Galaxy. That's just number one on my list because that guy was a phenomenal actor, like you said, a legend, and I know he's gonna knock this out of the park. The other one would be Captain Carter. I'm really looking forward to seeing
Oh yeah.
a woman step into the role of Captain America and really kick ass and show the boys how it's done. I think that's a really fun and awesome idea. What I'm looking the least, I mean, they all look pretty great to me. I really don't have like a least favorite one. I see some Loki heavy stuff in here, and the only reason I would say that like I'm looking like that's least on my list is because I'm right in the middle of the Loki TV series right now. Like like I'm on Loki saturation overload. Okay, like I don't need really any more Loki right now. Like I'm loving the Loki that I'm getting. I just I just don't need any more Loki in my life. I've got more Loki than I can handle right now. So yeah, but the What If series has a very storied history with Marvel Comics, starting with Volume One back in 1977 with the very first What If story. What if Spider-Man had joined the Fantastic Four? The 47 issue series ran until 1984, and each story was self-contained. Then in 1989, Marvel brought back the series for Volume 2, which contained 115 monthly What If issues and contained stories tied to the infamous Spider-Girl, Mayday Parker, and the fan favorite Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe. Volume 2 continued until 1998, and since then, the series has been very on and off again. Alex, I gotta ask you, were you a fan of the old comic series? Do you have a favorite issue?
I think that I mean I did see them in the comic book shop when I would be browsing for my favorite comics or looking through Wizard magazine, but I never really checked out the comic book series. But I do think I did see a couple, and to me, my favorite one would probably be that Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe one because it was just intense. Back then, the Punisher was kind of the guy for Marvel. It was like between him and Wolverine were kind of just what drove Marvel Comics popularity at that point. And you gotta love the late '80s, early '90s type of vibes that they had. But to me, yeah, it would probably be that Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe is my favorite little story that they had in there. What about you, Sam? Did you have are you familiar with the old comic series? And do you have a favorite issue?
I wasn't hugely familiar with this series. Going back and doing some research, I did realize like I read like a couple issues without even like realizing it. Two that stand out to me, and one I did list. The What If Aunt May got bit instead of Peter Parker. This kind of cracks me up just to see geriatric Aunt May out there fighting the spider villains. But also, it kind of had a unique twist on it because Peter doesn't quite grow into the confident Spider-Man that we see in the comic books. He remains that nerdy kid that gets pushed around and beat up, and thrown in the toilet or trash can by the bullies.
Mm-hmm.
Getting bit by that spider really, affected his life, and getting those spider powers, gave him the confidence, to like grow into like this better man. And yeah, with Aunt May taking the bite, yeah, no, he remains this kind of shy, geeky little kid. The other one that stood out to me, not as strongly, but Wolverine becomes Lord of the Vampires.
Oh man.
Yeah, Wolverine gets into a fight with Dracula, and Dracula tries to bite him and turn him, but Wolverine's healing factor doesn't allow him to fully be turned, and he slays Dracula, and he becomes Lord of the Vampires. Uh, just the artwork on that one kind of caught my eye, because you see Wolverine sinking his teeth into Jean Grey slash Phoenix's neck, drinking her blood and everything, and I was like, whoa. Uh, did not see that one coming. So yeah, so those were the two issues that really stood out to me out of that series run. Now, Marvel Studios What If starts streaming August 11th on Disney Plus. If this is something you would like us to cover in our patented My Comic Life method, let us know below in the comments. But hey,
Absolutely.
folks, jumping from What If to Loki, we're giving you a double dose of Loki. My Comic Life, as we mentioned earlier, took a break last week for the 4th of July holiday, and as a result, you listeners get treated to a double dose of Marvel Studios hit show Loki. So here we go. Spoiler alert, folks. If you haven't watched episode, 4 and 5? Yes, episode 4 and 5. Pause the podcast here. Go use your log on. Go steal somebody's log on. Watch these episodes, and then come back and start listening here. I'm going to give you that infamous My Comic Life countdown. We're going in 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoiler alert, here we go. Episode 4 was titled The Nexus Event and aired June 30th. On Lamentus 1, Sylvie tells Loki she escaped the TVA's detention as a child. They form a romantic bond, creating a unique, branched timeline that alerts the TVA to rescue and arrest them before Lamentus is destroyed. Mobius leaves Loki in a time loop from his past with Sif. Sylvie unlocks B-15's memories to prove that B-15 is a variant. Renslayer tells Mobius that C-20 died from a mental breakdown, but Mobius finds a recording of Renslayer interrogating a mentally sound C-20 who insists the TVA workers are all variants. Mobius frees Loki from the loop, but Renslayer confronts them and has Mobius pruned. Renslayer takes Loki and Sylvie to the Timekeepers, who order Loki and Sylvie deleted. With B-15's help, Loki and Sylvie defeat Renslayer and the Timekeepers guards. Sylvie beheads one of the Timekeepers, revealing them to be androids. A recovered Renslayer prunes Loki. Sylvie overpowers Renslayer and demands the truth. In a post-credit scene, the first post-credit scene of this series, Loki awakens in an unknown realm surrounded by several other Loki variants who invite him to join them. Alex, what did you think of the love story that is forming between Loki and Sylvie?
It's gross. No,
It's gross.
so it's. I mean, I guess it's supposed to be gross, but it does fit Loki very well, and it is kind of the ultimate kind of narcissism, or narcissistic tendency to fall in love with the kind of the female version of yourself, which is something that I would attribute to, and only attribute to, a Loki. That's just how I feel about it. But what did you think? What do what do you think this is kind of they're gonna run somewhere with this, or is this kind of just this one shot kind of thing?
I like you. I'm just like, how narcissistic and how arrogant do you have to be like, I only love me? I only have love for me. Yeah. Yeah. It just makes me laugh that, yeah, like the only other like real significant relationship Loki has outside of like Thor is with himself as a girl. you know. Do I mean, I don't know how I feel about this. It's just kind of weird, you know. Do I think it's going to go somewhere? At this point in episode 4, it looks like there is a bond forming, but right now it looks like they're still just, you know, kind of like, you know, using each other as like a means to an end for right now.
Oh, I
But
could
I
see
gotta
that
add,
happening. Let me tell you the funny. So, all right, I had this weird. All right, everybody put on your tinfoil hats. Alex is about to get weird. All right, so this is what happens, right? By the end of the episode, Loki and Sylvie fall in love, right? They
yes.
get married, they have a family together, or they start a family, right? Loki and Sylvie have a son. And in this Back to the Future type of weird shit, Loki decides to name his son Mobius. Boom. That's the same Mobius
What?
that gets that ended that is the variant that works for the TVA, goes back and helps save the Loki. So that's just, again, that's the way my mind works. I'm sorry everybody, but that's, there it is. Boom, theory. You heard it here first.
Disney, Marvel, why are you not hiring this brilliant man to write your TV shows for you? I'm slapping on my tin hat. I'm sold. I want to see that, man. That would be fucking amazing. Oh, Alex, yeah, no, gold star for you on the show
Thank you,
tonight for
thank
coming
you
up
so
with
much,
like
Sam. So
coming up with
speaking of
the
amazing,
best theory.
speaking of amazing, were you shocked that the timekeepers were androids?
Eh, not so much. You know, if the timekeepers were that easily accessible, you know, and that easily defeated, you know, they wouldn't be, you know, the all powerful, all ominous, all, you know, all knowing timekeepers, you know. So yeah, when she like popped like one of their heads off, and they all started laughing, I either thought, okay, they're like immortals with healing factors, so like cutting their heads off does nothing to them. Uh, that was my first initial thought, and then yeah, like you see the sparks from the head, and I was like, oh, okay, get it, you know, get it, got it, good. You are robots, cool, cool. Did that shock you at all though, Alex?
No, not really, because I'm kind of addicted to this show. So the minute that it airs, that next morning I'm in the subreddit looking at the at the threads that they have for it. So I kind of read it, and the thread's full of spoilers, and I'm not really I don't really care about spoilers and stuff because I'm gonna watch it anyway. But it was definitely shocking to read, but not to watch. I'll say that.
I got to ask you, what was your favorite part of this episode?
I would say, for me, it would probably be when they brought back Sif. I really liked that. I thought that was really cool. Um, and to have her just kind of kick Loki's ass over and over and over again in different ways, and have him kind of come to this realization that what she said was correct. I will die alone, and I'm a hateful person, and he kind of just really kind of comes to this moment of enlightenment, and it was a really good way for the show to kind of for him to reach that peak of his story arc, and I thought that was a really cool way for them to do it. And I guess I would have to say that for me, it's also tied with when Sylvie unlocks B15's memories, because she is, she's like, I was happy, and that was kind of a really strong for them not to actually have a scene that shows her in her old life, and to just completely put it on that actress. In her name, escapes me, and I'm really sorry. Um, Put it on her shoulders to try to act that out using her face, and for her to just absolutely nail it was an amazing thing for me to watch. So I think those two were probably my favorite parts of the episode. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, of course, it was awesome to see Sif back in the Marvel universe after such a long absence, and yeah, her words are eerily haunting. You know, it's like yes, like you're gonna die alone, you have nothing there, and I'm paraphrasing there. I know, but yeah, essentially that. Also, my other favorite part was kind of a smattering of parts, but seeing Mobius wake up to the fact that not all is right in the TVA, and maybe Loki's right, and just like his death, man. Like I did not see Mobius dying coming at all, man. Like that totally caught me off guard, and I was like, oh man, like I was really disappointed that they had killed off Luke Wilson. Like he was one of my favorite parts of the show, and I really couldn't believe that yeah, that they eradicated him like that. Like that totally caught me off guard. What would you rate this episode, Alex?
Ooh, for episode 4, I thought it was pretty good. There was a lot of, we got a lot of questions answered, but we got a lot of more questions out of it. Solid. I give it like an 8.75. I guess somewhere around there would be out of 10 is I think a good rating for this episode. What about you, Sam?
Along the same lines, just a solid eight, a solid good B episode there. No real disappointments. I really like this one. But all right, folks, this is our double dose of Loki. So jumping from episode 4 to episode 5. Episode 5 of Loki was titled Journey into Mystery and was first aired on July 7th. Now, Renslayer tells Sylvie Loki was teleported to the Void and is not dead. The Void is a dimension at the end of time where everything the TVA pruned is dumped into and from which nothing has returned. They also deduce that the TVA's creator is hiding in the timeline beyond the Void. The TVA mascot, Miss Minute, stalls for time until the TVA troops surround Sylvie, who prunes herself. After interrogating B-15, Renslayer attempts to reach the TVA's creator. Meanwhile, the other Loki variants tell Loki that a massive cloud-like creature called, oh man, I'm going to butcher this name, uh,
Eliath.
Eliath. All right,
Yes,
got
sir.
it. Eliath,
You
thank you.
smashed it.
Uh, hunts and kills any life in the void. Mobius saves Sylvie from Eliath. Boastful Loki betrays the other Lokis for a second Loki group, which itself dissolves into fighting. Classic Loki helps Alligator Loki. Kid Loki and Loki escape. Eventually, they meet Mobius and Sylvie. After Mobius returns to the TVA using a temp pad Sylvie previously stole, she attempts to enchant Eliath, but fails to until classic Loki distracts it with an illusion of Asgard, sacrificing himself in the process. Together, Loki and Sylvie successfully enchant Eliath and find a citadel beyond the void and walks towards it. All right, man, whose castle is it?
Oh man, and I keep telling whenever we have these discussions with my friends and everything, I will tell you that I'm gonna be pissed if it ends up being just like King Loki, or it was a Loki all along, or if it is like Ravonna or some even if it's Mobius, if it's like if they turn they try to do one of those WandaVision, it was Agatha all along type shits, and it ends up being Mobius all along, and he has his own theme song. But uh, for me, whose castle is it? I gotta go Kang Gang. I'm Kang Gang all the way, bro. Like I am so jacked to see Kang in the Marvel universe, and I would love to I would love to for him to at least be somewhat. I just want to see him, just a glimpse of what he's gonna bring in the I think it's the third Ant-Man and Wasp movie. That's just personally for me. Sam, whose castle is it?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm on the Kang train with you there, my friend. Yeah, seeing a brief glimpse of Kang. Yes, it's either him or it really is like those TVA. I'm gonna call them Time Lord guys who were like robots in that room, but they're actual real people hiding out in this void. So yeah, I'm saying either it's Kang or it's the real Time Lords hanging out there in that void in their castle. Um, but yeah, if it turns out to be anybody but those two, I guess this would be too weird, But third place, I mean, like bronze trophy, but it would make no sense to me if Galactus was hanging out there.
Oh
I
yeah,
could
I've heard that theory.
really, because he's more of just like a planet eater and like less of a schemer. But yeah, I mean, I could put up with that too. But no, I either want it to be Kang or those three Time Lords we saw in who turned out to be robots. Like this is like their real selves. Like I want it to be like one of those two. Yeah, most definitely. But definitely more relevant question here. Who was your favorite Loki in this episode, Alex?
I mean, you mean besides Crocodile Loki? Cause he's easily the favorite. Have you seen those? You know the fashion brand Lacoste, and they have
Yeah,
those
yeah.
polos with the alligator on it, and they've actually not Lacoste, but I think some comic book related website has put out polos with the Lacoste alligator with the Loki crown, Loki horns on it, which I thought was really funny. I may have to pick up one of those. My favorite Loki, I did like boastful Loki. I thought that Deobia Opera, he did a really good job, and I liked his costume design with his giant. It looked like he had his own Mjolnir, and I kind of liked how he was just kind of lied his ass off, and all the other Lokis were like, yeah, whatever. But the one who, I mean, he pretty much stole the entire episode for me was probably classic Loki. I think Richard Grant was, that man is an absolute treasure. He killed that role, and I every single scene that he was in, he just ate it up. There was like, I mean, up until this point, like Mobius was my favorite character, but after this episode, classic Loki I think has overtaken Mobius, and he did it in such a short period of time. Um, but what I posed the same question to you, Sam. Who was your favorite Loki that you got to see?
I mean, of course, the obvious answer is alligator Loki. That thing was just freaking hilarious. But yeah, other than that, I got to go with classic Loki. I mean, you're right. I mean, that guy stole the show. He was just awesome to watch. I mean, just you know, made that part so amazing, just so fucking awesome. And oh man, I mean, like he established such a rapport, or at least I felt such a rapport for him that like in the end, like when he's creating that awesome illusion of Asgard uh, to distract from Goliath, and he ends up getting eaten at the end. Like I felt bad for the guy, and I had only known him for like 15, like 20 minutes, So I mean, kudos to that actor. You really filled out that role well. Yeah, classic Loki and alligator Loki are my two favorite Lokis.
So I had
Alex,
to
what?
I had to ask you again,
Oh yeah.
and again, I hope you didn't take your tinfoil hats off. So that classic Loki, do you think that was the Loki from the 19999 whatever MCU timeline, and he actually did um, like what we saw in at the beginning of, I want to say it was Infinity War, when he chokes Loki to death? Like that was, he was actually describing that moment, and that he left from there, and he went to go kind of seclude himself on his own planet. Do you think that was that Loki? Like that's the Loki proper from the future, or do you think this was just like a completely different timeline?
I think it was a completely different timeline. I think just based on like his more outlandish costume and like his higher level of power, I would
Mm-hmm.
say he would have to come from a different timeline. But yeah, that part where he was like, "Look, I created an illusion on myself, and then like I got out of there, like faked my own death, and like went and hid on a planet for years until like I got so lonely that like I missed my brother and wondered if he missed me, and that's how I got caught. Is because like I wandered off of this planet. Like I mean, I could be wrong, but he totally sold me on him being an alternate Loki that just didn't die at the hands of Thanos. And kudos to Marvel for throwing in the Thanos chopper in the
Oh,
in the
bro.
background there. That was hilarious to see. I laughed at that part. My girlfriend went, "What are you laughing at?" It's like it's comic book stuff. You just have to know.
You
Um,
wouldn't get it.
I did. I mean,
So with the
I
Thanos
explained it
copter,
to her.
is that your favorite part? Was that your favorite part of this episode?
One of my favorite parts. Yeah, definitely, definitely. But no, favorite part and probably like saddest part was just seeing like classic Loki. Like summoning such a powerful illusion of Asgard. Like I got goosebumps. Like like watching that scene, and then like the self-sacrifice always gets to me. Like any good self-sacrifice always kicks me right in the feels. So yeah, like
He just looks
watching
at the
watch
other Lokis like, "Run, you fools!"
yeah, and I'm just like, oh man, I'm just like, don't do it, man, don't do it. Um, so basically, favorite parts of the episode, any part with alligator Loki, Mobius, or classic Loki. Those are just my favorite parts, like right there. Did you have a favorite part, Alex?
I did like the conjuring of the Asgard, and to go back to what you were saying about classic Loki, I thought it was a really clever way for Marvel to almost kind of retcon just how powerful Loki can be, because he does tell like Loki, like, you have no idea how, the power that we have. And so I thought that was a really cool way for them to just kind of stealth buff Loki, and I hope that they keep him in the MCU. I would love to see him again. Um, but for me, I probably would say my favorite part of the episode would be when they went underground and the camera panned underground, and you got to actually see Throg.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, little known trivia, that he was actually voiced by Chris Hemsworth, the Throg character. I think he's not credited though, but um, that would probably be my favorite, because of all the people, I did not expect to see Throg in in the MCU at all, but he is canon, so I mean, there it is.
And kudos to Chris Hemsworth for just doing a few brief animal noises. So what would you rate this episode?
Oh, this one is my favorite by far. Like, this one's like a 9.5, dude, because this one, like, if there was so far one episode where someone was like, "I've never seen Loki," I'd be like, "Well, you got to check out episode 5, because that shit hits, man. That shit is bussin'. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is so. It's easily a 9.5 for me. Easily my favorite episode that I've seen so far. What about you, Sam? What would you rate it?
8 to almost a 9, but yeah, solid 8 there. B plus. I mean, this has been like like the most grandest, most epic episode so far, and you're absolutely right. If someone was like, "Why should I watch Loki?" I'd show them this episode first and be like, "This is why." And like this episode was just amazing. All the Lokis were hilarious. Classic Loki's self-sacrifice and seeing those illusions of Asgard was fantastic, and the cliffhanger ending. But also Mobius coming back. I mean, just love Mobius. So yeah, all that adds up to like an 8.8. You know what? Almost a 9 for me right there.
Tough judge over there.
I know. But I leave you with this question. Do you have any wild predictions for the final episode?
All right, folks. All right.
Oh, cracking one open.
I gotta crack it open, and I hope you guys, like I said, you've kept your tinfoil hats on, because I'm going one more time into the void, so to speak. Um, my last prediction for this show is that Eliath was not designed to keep people out of the castle. He was designed to keep Kang in the castle. That is it for me. Sam,
Okay.
what about you? What do you think? You got any wild predictions?
I got two. They go to the castle and they defeat or free, Kang or whoever is in that castle. and it shatters the timeline into so many variants that like the TVA can't even keep up with it. And this is how we wind up with the Marvel multiverse, which is what Doctor Strange is going to be about. Doctor Strange into the multiverse of madness. Like he's going to have to go see what Loki did to the timeline. Or, kind of like in video games, after you defeat the final boss, and this would kind of be a cop out for me, but you get to reset the game and go back and play it again. But yeah, so they defeat the final, who's ever in that castle. They defeat that guy, and there's like a brilliant flash of like white light across the screen, and you just see Loki handcuffed back in New York. Only this time the Tesseract doesn't, skirt by his feet. Like somebody's corrected the very thing that made him a variant in the first place, and he has no memory of any of this happening.
So you'd like to see? That's a cop out, man. I can't. I would tank this show if they did that shit, dude. I'm telling you, like I would be like, oh, this show was going so good until that last part of episode 6. That's just personally.
Where it's just like resets everything, and he forgets Sylvie and doesn't know like the TVA exists. He's just back, handcuffed, about to be taken back up to Asgard by Thor. Yeah, that could happen.
But I mean, we are about roughly 24 hours from the airing of the final episode at the time of this recording. So, and by the time that you guys hear this, the 6th episode will finally be out. So feel free to roast us or praise me in the comments for being absolutely correct.
Time will tell, my friend. Time will tell. Let's hope that you don't wind up as a variant for your wild predictions. I would hate to have to go look for a new co-host for this show because the TVA came and bagged you. All right, folks, this wraps up another great episode of My Comic Life. We thank you so much for listening. Please continue to like our Facebook page. Get your friends, get your family, get everybody that you can to like our Facebook page. That really helps grow the show. Also, continue to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search My Comic Life on YouTube and look for that oh so great, oh so brilliant, oh so awesome My Comic Life logo. Again, liking and subscribing, just a simple 5-second click really helps the show, really helps grow the show, and we sincerely appreciate it. Also, shout out to our My Comic Life Fan of the Week, Sam Emerson from Santa Cruz, California. Sir, we appreciate you liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel and liking our Facebook page. Sam Emerson, you are our My Comic Life Fan of the Week. Salute to you, Mr. Emerson.
Salute to you, Sam. Thank you so much for checking us out.
Yes, and folks, if you want to become our My Comic Life Fan of the Week, you can email us at realmycomiclife@gmail.com. Again, that is realmycomiclife@gmail.com. Tell us what you want us to talk about. More video games, more Marvel talk. Hey, more DC talk. We do this show for you, the fans, so let us know. Again, the email address is realmycomiclife@gmail.com. But as always, this wraps up another episode of My Comic Life. Oh, apologies to Kevin Smith, man. I am so sorry. We totally promised you were going to get on this episode. And dang it, Alex, you forgot to remind me, man. And we are out of time again. So apologies. Sorry. Sorry to Kevin Smith. Maybe next week, man. Maybe next week. We will get you on this show. But for now, folks, ditch the herd. Be a nerd. Stay strong out there, my friends.